this episode, we're going to discuss objectives without limits. I grew up in California, and we have a national park called Yosemite, which has one of the most beautiful hiking trails in the world called Half Dome. It's a short trail, but undoubtedly you have unbelievable panoramas, waterfalls, forests, and then finally getting to the top of Half Dome is the ultimate experience as a beginning hiker. They even sell t-shirts that say I made it to the top. And I knew that when I was going up there, I was going to make sure I got one. Along the way, there are milestone markers. These markers will tell you which mile you're on. The first mile, the third mile, the fifth mile. And then when you open your map will tell you what sort of terrain is coming up next. Whether it's a forest or maybe it's going to be a steep rock climb, and so you better mentally prepare yourself. And while these milestone markers and map keep you motivated to move forward, undoubtedly the reason we climb Half Dome is to get to the top and to see the beautiful view 1 mile above the valley. The joy is reaching the peak, and the milestone markers and the map help us get there by keeping us motivated and helping us prepare for what's coming next. The reason I bring up this story is because objectives in education are very similar. For a teacher, they're incredibly valuable. They help us plan, they help us define our success criteria, they help us know when we've completed a stage of learning and the progress that the students are making. From a student's perspective, on the other hand, the objective does not carry that much value. In fact, for them, journeying through each objective one after the other is a lot like me trying to ascend to the top of Half Dome. The goal is what's exciting. The beauty of reaching that top and saying I did it and buying that t-shirt is what was exciting. The objectives are the milestone markers along the way. They let me know that I've made progress. They let me know that as a student I've accomplished so many steps and I still have a long way to go. They let me know that the next stage might be a little bit more difficult to me than the previous stage. But that's okay, because we're just going one step at a time, and my eye is always focused on the peak that's ahead of me. Out of 30 kids in a classroom, you might have 3 kids who really enjoy the progress in math. Every day, hey, I learned my 6 times tables. I learned my 7 times tables. For the rest of the kids, that's not that exciting. What is exciting is the end result. If I learn this, look what I can do. See where this can take me. Unfortunately for most kids, for them the long-term goal is to graduate that grade. That's really just not that exciting. It's not really the same as saying I'm going to get to that peak and sit at the top and breathe the fresh air and take a picture of myself. As educators, we need to find ways to emphasize that goal. In business, this is actually simply called vision casting. The CEO's role and the director's role in the organization is to make sure that everyone stays focused on the big picture target. If it's so important in the workplace, why not in the classroom? Teachers have to start casting that vision of what that goal will look like, feel like, and taste like every day so that kids remember why they're there, struggling through each milestone. That's not to say that the milestones, the objectives, are not valuable. They are the source of momentum, of progress. As each milestone is cleared, we don't stop and say, oh, we did it. When you're running a marathon, the marathon runner counts each milestone as momentum into the next one. But they never stop and take a breath and say, okay, I've done enough. Every marathon runner will tell you, you haven't finished until you cross that 26th mile. Anyone climbing Half Dome will tell you, you haven't finished until you get to that peak. In the same way, every student should tell you, until I reach this goal, I am not satisfied, but that's where my joy will come. So what does this look like in the classroom? It's actually not too different than what it would look like in the workplace. In the workplace, the manager's role is to cast a vision, to make sure that big picture is always there, whether it's a poster on the wall that's always referred to, or in every team meeting you're discussing, okay, what does the customer want? Why are we doing this? What's so cool about this product that we're developing? That's done in every meeting. It should be done in every classroom session as well. And the objectives are not meant to be monitored every step of the way. When you're going through milestone marker after milestone marker, you hardly keep track of which marker you're on. But when you hit that marker, you know you've accomplished something. In the same way, when a student has crossed through a milestone, an objective, based on an assessment or on some other form of evaluation, they should celebrate that. They should know that they've crossed it. That journey must be emphasized, and these milestones build momentum. These objectives build momentum. Now, we discussed a lot about objectives and why they should not replace the bigger picture goal for the student, but the title of this episode was Objectives Without Limits. When we focus only on the objectives, we're not casting that vision of the goal onto the students. Instead, we're having them focus on the evaluation of their own progress. Just imagine if you were on a trek and the only thing that you saw were signs that said, hey, you're not yet at the next milestone marker. You're still not there. You have another 4 miles to go, another 3 miles to go. In fact, the rest of the pack has actually crossed the second milestone marker, but you're still here in the first. That's what happens in our classrooms. And nobody talks about, hey, how beautiful Half Dome is. Nobody talks about how beautiful that feeling will be when you accomplish this goal. When we focus on objectives, we are introducing limits. So to remove the focus on the limits, to get the student to no longer focus on what are their boundaries and what is their scope for learning, we focus them on the goal, but as teachers, we get them to move one objective, one milestone at a time. That is how we introduce objectives without limits.